We're still in the early stages of this, sports betting. I think right now some 27 states have some type of, legal sports betting, of which 18 of those have legalized online sports betting. That's still roughly about a third of the U.S. population. And then as far as iGaming, which is also online casinos, that's only right now legal in in 6 states, which represent about 12% of the U.S. population. So the idea is that there's still a huge runway out there for continued momentum in terms of legalization. If you remember, the main catalyst of this was the repeal of the Professional and Amateur Sports Act in May 2018 by the Supreme Court, which kind of set off this huge land grab for market share. And what we've seen in the last 3 years since the repeal has been, kind of a major ramp up by a lot of players, both traditional casinos and new entrants that's really trying to get a piece. And we expect that over the next few years, the momentum on legalization is going to continue, potentially with more than 2/3 of the U.S. population ultimately getting access, which again means that the addressable market is going to be potentially large in North America, U.S. and Canada primarily.
And Tuna, we see the space getting pretty crowded. There was news today that Sports Illustrated is going to be getting in on the sports betting arena. They are now going to be launching something called SI Sportsbook. It's a partnership with the British online betting company 888, and they're looking to launch this later this year. What does Sports Illustrated now getting into the online betting business with its ability to, with its millions of U.S. sports fans and ability to draw more people into sports betting? What is that going to mean for companies like DraftKings and others already in the space?
Well, right now, I think Sports Illustrated, I think it's a very good example of how, media companies, content creators, all kinds of companies really are trying to, garner some piece of this slice of growing sports betting. What's happened is a lot of content creators are entering into partnerships with the online, the sports betting companies that have the licenses, and also the traditional casinos have some type of skin in this whole arrangement. So this is just one of several types of partnerships and joint ventures that we've seen across the entire space, whereby, everyone is trying to figure out how to really provide an avenue for customer acquisition. This is what it comes down to. Getting scale, and the more exposure of your brand that you have, the more you can get customers to play, and of course, the more that you can ramp up your revenue. So I think right now scale is a very important element for companies like DraftKings and everyone else to reach a point of profitability, which is going to take quite a few years to get there.
Tuna, really quickly, because we only have about a minute left with you, I'm curious to know what impact the pandemic has had on this space. We've seen a lot of people have a lot more discretionary income, and yet at the same time, a lot of Americans out there, a lot of folks still struggling financially.
Our sense is that the pandemic actually was some type of catalyst for consumer adoption, and not just for online sports betting, but as you know, a lot of digital technology really provided people those outlets. So when we look at the aggregate market, the pandemic did hit hard the traditional casino business, which kind of had a major fall off. But online sports betting and iGaming last year was just about the only bright spot, which actually grew much significantly, thanks in part to the pandemic. So I hope that answers, the question as to how the pandemic has actually accelerated the consumer adoption of online sports betting and iGaming.
Right. Well, Tuna Imobi, analyst at CFRA, thanks so much for joining us today.